The lights of the America's Got Talent stage shimmered like 1,000 stars as a frail Filipino grandfather slowly stepped forward, holding the hand of his young grandson. The boy, no older than 10, wore a crisp white barong Tagalog, its embroidery glistening under the spotlights. His grandpa wore the same, slightly faded and loose on his frame, a reflection of years of sacrifice and simple living. As they reached the center of the stage, the audience murmured softly. Some smiled warmly, others looked curious. Who were these two? What would they sing? Simon Cowell leaned forward, adjusting his mic. Hello there, he said gently. What are your names? The boy gripped his grandpa's hand tighter. My name is Andre, and this is my Lolo Ben, he answered, his small voice trembling with excitement. We came all the way from the Philippines. Wow, Simon said, impressed. And what made you come to AGT? Andre smiled shyly and looked up at his grandfather. Lolo taught me how to sing since I was little. We sing together every night, and we wanted to share our Filipino song for everyone, especially for the people back home. A collective, ah, rippled through the audience. Lolo Ben smiled, eyes glistening, his voice deep but humble. We may not have much, but music is our gift, from our heart to the world. Simon nodded, visibly touched. That's beautiful, he said softly. Whenever you're ready. The lights dimmed. The first soft notes of a Filipino melody began to play, gentle, haunting, filled with pride. And as the grandfather and grandson looked at each other and took a deep breath, the audience felt something special was about to happen, a moment of pure love, legacy, and home. The hall grew quiet, so still that even the soft hum of the stage lights felt like a heartbeat. Andre stood center stage, his small hand still holding his grandpa's. The gentle strumming of a guitar filled the air, the melody of an old Filipino folk song, Anak, reimagined with modern strings. Andre closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then, his voice, pure, clear, and full of innocence, floated across the room. Every word carried emotion far beyond his years. The lyrics spoke of family, gratitude, and love for one's parents, and every note hit straight to the heart. A few seconds later, Lolo Ben joined in. His voice was deep and trembling, but warm, wrapping around his grandson's like an embrace. The two voices, one young and full of life, the other aged and full of wisdom, blended perfectly. It wasn't just a duet, it was a conversation between generations. The audience was spellbound. Some held their breath, others clasped their hands to their chests. You could see people wiping away tears. Even the judges, known for their tough exteriors, looked moved. Simon Cowell leaned forward, his usually sharp expression softening. He whispered something under his breath, something the camera didn't catch, as if trying to hold back emotion. Beside him, Heidi smiled tenderly, mouthing, beautiful. As the song swelled, the camera panned across the stage, the grandfather's eyes closed in deep feeling, the boy singing with all his heart, their voices echoing together as one. And in that moment, it didn't feel like a talent show anymore. It felt like a prayer, a story of love, heritage, and the bond that no distance or generation could ever break. As the song reached its second verse, the giant LED screen behind the stage flickered to life. The audience gasped softly as scenes from Andre and Lolo Ben's life in the Philippines began to play, tender, real, and full of love. The first image showed a small wooden house surrounded by rice fields, sunlight pouring through the palm trees. A young Andre, barefoot and laughing, ran toward his grandfather, who sat on a bamboo stool strumming an old guitar. Again, Lolo, teach me again, the boy shouted. The camera zoomed in on the old man's smile, proud, patient, and full of warmth. The next scene showed them singing together during a stormy night, candlelight flickering on their faces as rain pattered on the tin roof. The caption appeared briefly, music kept us strong. Then, a shot of them at church on Sunday, singing in the choir, their voices rising above the congregation. On stage, Andre continued to sing with tears glistening in his eyes. He looked up at the screen for a brief moment, and smiled when he saw the footage of his late grandmother joining them in song. Lolo Ben's lips trembled, his eyes closing as he sang through emotion, his voice cracking on one line, Para sa pamilya, para sa Dios. For the family, for God. The audience could feel it, this wasn't a performance, it was a journey through their lives, through love, loss, and legacy. Even Simon's eyes were wet now, his usual composure gone. The story behind the song had touched something deep inside everyone watching. When the montage faded, only the two of them remained under the spotlight, singing not just for the judges, but for home. As the final verse began, the music softened until only a faint piano and guitar could be heard. The stage lights dimmed, leaving Andre and Lolo Ben standing in a warm golden glow, two silhouettes bound by love and legacy. The air was thick with emotion. Lolo Ben's trembling hand rested gently on his grandson's shoulder. Together, they sang the last lines, their voices blending perfectly. Para sa bayan, para sa pamilya, para sa puso. For the nation, for the family, for the heart. The melody lingered like a prayer. And then came the last note, long, pure, and full of everything they had lived through. Lolo Ben's voice cracked just slightly, but instead of breaking the magic, it deepened it. His grandson held the final tone steady, his voice carrying both of their souls through the silence. When the song ended, no one moved. The hall fell into a breathtaking stillness. You could hear a pin drop. The camera cut to the judges. Heidi had tears rolling down her cheeks, Sophia clasped her hands together in awe, and Howie just nodded, speechless. Simon sat completely still, his lips pressed together, eyes shining. For a moment, he didn't look like a judge, he looked like a man remembering something precious, something lost. Then came the sound, a single clap from someone in the back row. Then another. And within seconds, the entire audience was on its feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Andre turned to his grandpa, his eyes wide with disbelief. Lolo Ben smiled faintly, brushing a tear from his face. We did it, Apo, he whispered, voice shaking. You made Lolo proud. Gold light bathed them, as if heaven itself was applauding. The cheers echoed through the theater like thunder. Confetti had not yet fallen, but the moment already felt like a victory. Andre and Lolo Ben stood in the center of the stage, their hands still clasped, breathing heavily after giving their hearts to the world. Simon Cowell remained seated for a long moment, elbows resting on the table, staring at them as the applause slowly faded. His usual calm, calculating look was gone, replaced by something softer, almost fatherly. He took a deep breath, leaned into the microphone, and said quietly, You know, I've been doing this show for a long time, but what you two just did, that wasn't a performance. That was love. The audience went silent again. Simon's voice cracked slightly as he continued, The connection between you, that's everything music should be about. No language barrier, no showmanship, just heart. You reminded us what truly matters. Andre's eyes filled with tears. He squeezed his grandpa's hand tighter. Lolo Ben bowed his head humbly, his voice trembling, Salamat po, sir. Thank you so much. Simon smiled gently. No, thank you for sharing that with us. Then, without another word, Simon stood up. The audience instantly sensed what was coming. He looked at them one last time, then reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. In an explosion of gold light and music, confetti rained from above. The crowd roared, the judges stood cheering, and Andre threw his arms around his grandpa. Lolo Ben, overwhelmed, whispered through tears, We did it, Apo. For your mama, for our country.